Hi, folks. Welcome to the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com, our podcast and our CEO series we do with some of the amazing and intellectual CEOs of technology. And today we're joined by the wonderful across-the-pond CEO of Ecademy.com, Thomas Power. Thomas, how are you doing today, bud?
Good morning. Very well. Just looks like I haven't shaved here a bit, Chris.
I'm up late at 11 o'clock p.m. on the Pacific Coast, and you're up early in the morning there in England.
Yeah, it's 7 a.m. It's just after 7, so thank you for staying up late and for me getting up early, I guess.
No problem at all. No problem at all. It's been great to have kind of been friends with you for the past, 2 years now or so, that we've bantered back and forth over the time.
Yeah, you came on my radar, I think, more than 2 years ago, Chris, as a player, and we've been in touch and talking ever since, because you know the game, and there aren't many of us who know the game online, really. That's
really true. So Ecademy.com is the company that you run, oversee. Give us a bit of a bio background on you. What we need to know about you.
Okay. Well, I sit on 6 different boards of directors. So I'm a chairman and a non-executive director, what we call a non-executive director, as opposed to an executive director, on half a dozen different boards. Ecademy is just one of those. And I'm now 48. I started my career with Alan Sugar, or Lord Sugar, as an apprentice who runs the Apprentice TV show in the UK. But I was his bag carrier out of college at 22 and learned how to sell PCs and software back then. Wow. I then built a call center for Hewlett Packard and Compaq and people like that. Then I worked for an American software company out of Detroit and sold the world's first internet auction to Mercedes-Benz to resell used cars. Wow. Back in 1995, before eBay.
Wow.
Then I decided to write a few books with the cash from that. I've written 7 books now. Did some speaking and some touring, and then Penny, my wife, came up with the idea of Ecademy. So I mean, she's really the founder. I get the credit for being the founder, but it's really her idea, her baby. And it's a community aimed at all the small businesses, the guys who work from home, the self-employed, really white-collar professionals who work from home, not the big guys. It's really all the little guys. It's 14 years old, and it's 650,000 people now.
Wow.
In 200 countries around the world. It's a subscription business. People pay $10 a month to use the system, and I really describe it as an intranet for the self-employed.
Now you guys are probably one of the first social networks, really.
Yeah, I don't know whether we're the first, but I guess, yeah, we'd be one of them. We were 1998. We started in a bar in London with 20 people coming along to an event. It was very unusual to run events back then, whereas events are very common now. So the first real competitor we met was Adrian Scott from Rise in 2001. You may remember Rise, R-Y-Z-E. Which helped us. And then in 2002 we met Reed from LinkedIn and realized at last we had a rival, which was good. And then you may remember Spoke, that came in 2003, which had a little flutter. And then obviously we saw the rise of, so we're probably about 5 or 6 years ahead of the market. But we didn't raise venture capital, and we remortgaged the house and took out lots of loans, and had more than 100 bank loans to finance it.
Oh wow!
So we didn't do it the way you do it in the Valley.
Well, things are probably much different in financing back then too, right?
Very, very different, and also you don't have the appetite in London to invest in internet stocks. If you think of successful internet companies from the UK, you can count those on one hand. Maybe QXL Ricardo, the eBay auction clone, maybe lastminute.com, maybe Moonpig, the cards business, but no, London likes banking, mining, oil, financial services, insurance. We do have a startup community now in Tech City in the Olympic Village. And we've probably got about 600 to 800 startups there now, but you know, a startup in the UK has $100,000 to $200,000. You know, a startup in San Francisco has $1 to $2 million.
Yeah.
And you know, very, very, very few. I guess Michael Birch with Bebo, you know, he built Bebo up, which was a forerunner to Facebook. That got sold out to AOL. Michael did very well out of that. But really, internet success stories out of London, you can count on one hand, not even two hands.
Yeah. In fact, there was some tech investors out there that I remember, I guess they've done very well, but they don't give a lot of interviews. I forget who they are. But
there are a few.
Yeah.
There are a few. A few guys have done pretty well. And remember, Mike, who runs Sequoia, he's English or Welsh.
That might be who I'm thinking of. They don't give a lot of interviews. No.
We managed to get, we managed to get some English blood into the San Francisco DNA, but, you know, you guys stole all the profits.
What can you say? Well, let's talk about Ecademy. Let's show off Ecademy to our listeners who haven't gotten a chance to look at it yet. I've been on a couple years. I've always been very impressed with it. I'm not sure why it's not more wildly popular in America, but let's take a look at it. And you guys have done a lot of refining on it over time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really like about it is it really is a worldwide audience. You guys, to me, were more international back before LinkedIn really became international. They were kind of just a U.S. thing for a long time. So.
Yes, we built it. We really built it through having lots of events, Chris. So, as a result of having lots of events, we had events all over the world.
Now, you guys started out as an education sort of.
We started out in what the original name was based on e-commerce and Ecademy. We basically started out as a training organization teaching people how to do e-commerce. And that was the flavor of the month in 98, 99, as you probably remember. And then we really discovered the events were very, very popular, the networking events, business networking events. So they spread all over the country, and then people started coming over from Holland and Belgium, and then they took the idea back, and then they spread to France and Germany. And I remember at one point we used to have like 100 events a week, like 5,000 events a year, before the arrival of LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and so on. So it really was. It really pivoted, if you like, from a training company into a business networking and events subscription business.
And there are people on Ecademy that are hardcore, great business networkers. They love Ecademy. They love making relationships. I mean, a real community that really tends to embrace you. Yeah.
If you see, I've clicked here on members recently online. If I click here and click on list here. Can you see all this on your screen, all right?
I sure can.
You can see the members who are online right now. Germany, UK, USA, India, Belgium, Switzerland, India, Denmark, Bangladesh, Australia, Belgium, Spain, Holland, Luxembourg, USA, Israel, Philippines, Ireland, Singapore, China, Nepal. It's Czech Republic, Côte d'Ivoire, that's Ivory Coast, Pakistan. It's very international. And it's international, Chris, because of the events. Penny and I visited 56 countries. Our kids have seen the world. So our kids think we run a travel company. But yeah, it's very international. And I think it's international because it's really a community for small businesses. And it's really a community of one-man bands. And one-man bands love to talk to people similar to them all around the globe. So it's really, I mean, if you were to liken it to Alcoholics Anonymous, it's like a support group for home-working, self-employed.
There you go. There you go.
It really is a support group, and it's also a very mature audience. The average age is 46, whereas if you look at the average age on Facebook, it's 27. The average age on Twitter is 33. The average age on LinkedIn is 39.
Yeah.
The average age on Ecademy is 46. So you've got not old farts, but mature, self-employed professionals working from home.
It's definitely a place where you're going to go and you're going to meet serious business people that really want to do stuff. You're not going to see stupid internet pictures. You're not going to see stupid internet memes. That's the one thing I really like about it.
Yeah, we've had to, we've had to keep those sort of crazy nutter guys away, because there's a lot of loons out there. But we haven't tried to really be, a leisure network or a social network. We've always called it social business networking, because the events was the social piece, and once you get to know somebody online through their profile and reading their blogs, and it's primarily about blogs, and then you meet them at an event, whether you meet them in London or Amsterdam, or you meet them in Singapore, or wherever you might meet them. Once you've had a good read of their profile and a good read of their blogs, when you meet them, you have quite an intimate connection. And then when we set up the payment systems in 2002 and 2004, what we call Power Networker, which is $10 a month, and Blackstar, which is $100 a month, people associated with people who were like them in the sense that they paid. They contributed to make the community grow because that's where the funds were coming from. And so then there became Power Networker events, and then there became Blackstar events. And among the Blackstars, those guys set up companies together, formed JVs together, raised capital together, did pitches together, did consulting projects together, and really became global small businesses. Really identified by their ability to either be a Power Network or a Blackstar. They sort of qualified themselves in by contributing, by paying.
Yeah.
And then it really became very much a business networking support event, and a lot of business development, a lot of referrals. And also the network's not very big, so you're only talking about a few 100,000 people. You're not talking about millions of people. So there is a sense of it's still quite intimate, and it's not been overrun. So it's still got community without the craziness. I've dealt with a bunch of the Blackstar people in the Blackstar subscription program, and yeah, those people are awesome business people, just amazing. And they are awesome, and they're committed to they're really committed to one another. And I think I've just clicked on the blogs page. If you look where my mouse is sitting there, 135,786 blogs. Wow. We launched the blogs in March 2002. So if you think we've probably had about 10,000 blogs a year for 10 years. Wow. So you're talking about, say, 700 or 800 blogs a month for 10 years. And as a result of that, we have very good SEO with Google because Google love the content. Sure. So really, the whole business has been built around blogging and events. So basically, if I wanted to create a blog and I wanted to expose that blog to an international audience, the one like the one that you guys have, Ecademy is a great way for me to come on there and start building a blog, start posting it, et cetera, et cetera. Absolutely. But you do have to subscribe to post a blog, Chris. You've got to be a paying customer. So this is not a free community or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's free if you want to send each other messages,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a paid community if you want to blog, because that's our income stream.
Sure.
And you'd click on the new blog feature there. You'd put in a subject. You'd fill in your details. You'd say what you wanted to say, and that would then appear immediately in those blogs.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is if I just pick a blog out here that I like the look of, here's one on Pinterest, creating a head of steam. So I click on this one here by Robert Craven,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see I can give that a little like, and that jumps it up from 18 to 22. A box drops down there, and I can share that on Twitter. I can share that on Facebook. You can see it's automatically tagged, it's automatically hashtagged, it automatically has the @ symbol built in. So I click on a share, and that goes straight off, and that's done. And then I can give it a like if I want to give it a Facebook like. I can give it a share on Google Plus straight away. So, you know, when you write your blog, the other members will distribute it to all of the networks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, provided you're writing good content.
Sure.
And we have a ranking table here where we rank everyone in the world. You can see I'm struggling there in 4th place. Where we rank everyone in the world based on their blogs.
Wow.
Okay, so the more they contribute, the higher their rank, the more they get shared, the more people comment,
Mm-hmm.
the more they share other people's stuff. So it's very easy to identify. You can sort by country, or you can sort by subject. It's very easy to identify who are the experts,
Mm-hmm.
either in the city, or in a country, or in a subject.
Mm-hmm.
And people like to know, you know, who is the expert for pharmaceutical? Who is the expert in London for airline products? You know, people like to know who the experts are, and we found these ranking tables have been very popular.
That's brilliant. In fact, to see a lot of top people that I know in social media circles that are on that list, including yourself. So,
and here, if you see if I just click on this scoring system here, oh, there you see, there's Chris Voss,
wow,
who's top of cred. You got the highest cred score of anyone in Ecademy, Chris, which is not surprising. But you can see, you can look at the members by cred score.
Wow.
You can look at the members by their clout score. You're ahead of me there, Chris. You're on 76. I'm trying to catch you up there. I'm a bit behind.
There's Lewis Gray, our friend.
I'm on 70. You can sort people by their peer index score.
Wow.
You can sort them by their Empire Avenue.
Really?
Share price. You can sort them by their Google Plus circles.
Wow. There I am, number 4. Now, see, you beat me on Google Plus.
I managed to beat you at one thing.
Well, we'll let you have that. Now, Lewis Gray is cheating. He works for Google Plus now.
Yeah, I knew him before. Yeah, well, no one can beat him. He's got 100,000. I mean, how can you beat someone who works there?
Hey,
although we've got this guy Kyle, look, who's a photographer. He's on 1 million.
Wow. I guess we're doing it wrong. We should go do photography. Now, one thing I noticed back on the blogs was you showed a list of different blogs. There was a lot of views on all those blogs.
Yeah,
so
well, we're not a very high traffic site, but if you look down the right-hand side, you can see that one there, 2,228 views.
Yeah, right there, yeah.
Pretty much, you can guarantee to get about 100 views and 3 comments in 24 hours.
Now that's amazing to me because I know so many people that run their own blog and they have like 0 traffic, and yet they can be on Ecademy and be, you know, getting much better sort of results and everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the views on there. It's pretty consistent. I mean, these are your daily blogs. And look at the views. I mean, they're on average 100, 200, 500, 900, 130. Why am I blogging on my own blog anymore?
Well, you know, you have to pay to blog, so you've got to subscribe, so that will put some people off.
But $10 a month isn't that big of a deal.
It isn't, but, you know, people are very sensitive to paying subscriptions online.
I mean, technically, you would pay that a month to, like, GoDaddy to host you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. If you click here, Why I Love Ecademy, here's a blog. Who's written this? Mike Morrison. So that's, what's he saying here? There have been threads about the value of Ecademy. Here's a few of mine. Many people are here to give, not to take, so that's one reason. Some people just know when you need help and do it without asking. It's good for SEO. It's great for connecting with people from very different circles in the industries. Somebody said friendships. Somebody here says succinct. Somebody says they just love it. Great people, great connections, great opportunities. Trusted friends, business opportunities, learning, sharing, caring. I mean, these are all community phrases. A warm place to air your unconscious incompetence. And you see, what's reassuring about that is you can make mistakes in Ecademy and people won't blow you out or ball you out.
Uh-huh.
You know, you can test stuff. You can ask a question, so, you know, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that, I'm stuck with this, I've got a problem with a client, I've got a problem with a supplier, this person hasn't paid me, what do I do about it? So it's not just a marketplace of, I want to sell you stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much a, I'm stuck, can you help me with this?
Mm-hmm.
As Anna says here, an open-minded, supportive, and insightful audience with something in common. You know, it's a community. It's a community online, and because of its age, you know, if I search on Google and I search on business networking, you can see, where is it? It's right there after LinkedIn, BNI. There's Ecademy.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's basically Wikipedia, BNI, LinkedIn, and Ecademy.
There you go. You know, you've had me bugging you for a couple of years where I've been like, you guys are international, you guys are in every country, South Africa, just all over the place. And back when I first met you in like 2009, I mean, LinkedIn was just predominantly a U.S.-based thing, and I don't even really know if they're that much international now. I think they're still pretty much U.S.-based.
Well, I don't know the exact numbers on LinkedIn. I think there are a couple of 100 million people. I would have thought there's probably half of those are in the USA.
Mm-hmm.
Because pretty much every business person in the USA is on LinkedIn now, so that's probably about 100 million of that 200 million. But that still leaves them 100 million outside. But I think the difference with LinkedIn is known for jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more of a job board than a community. I mean, they've done very well with the groups.
Yeah.
Because effectively, Ecademy is like a group on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a sense that if you're very active on LinkedIn, you're either looking for a job or you're a consultant looking for some work.
That's very true, huh?
And I don't think that's a bad thing,
mm-hmm.
but that positions it for some people as a negative thing.
Yeah, sometimes if you're looking for other things than a job on LinkedIn, it's hard to find stuff, or people think you're annoyingly spamming or something of that nature.
Yeah, Penny and I believe that your job online is to be a magnet and post blogs and tweets and videos that make your phone ring.
Yeah.
Because if you have to ring somebody, then you obviously need something.
And you're probably not an expert in whatever you're having to ring people in.
But it's true. If your phone rings, Chris, it's normally somebody who wants something, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we believe, and Penn has always been advocating this, is post material that gets your phone to ring so that people want to hire you for your expertise.
Yeah.
And if your phone isn't ringing and your email's not coming in,
mm-hmm.
then you're obviously posting rubbish.
Yes. So let me ask you this. I have a serious blog with the chrisvossshow.com. I'd love to not have to duplicate my work with Ecademy. Is there a way that I can post snippets, or do I have to pretty much commit to doing a whole blog on Ecademy, or is there a way that I can, basically put teasers or links or front parts of a blog that would link back to my main blog?
Yes, you can, but if you did a straightforward cut and paste, obviously Google wouldn't like that.
Yeah, you're going to get Google penalization,
and they'd penalize you. They'd penalize you on your main blog and mark you down on your page rank.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could put a couple of paragraphs in and then link off to your blog. But yeah, it really is a blogging community, and then you've got a lot of groups. If I click on the groups here, you can see there's 664 groups here. A Danish group, a Black Star group, an Apple group, a brand group, a Spanish group, a PR group, and so on. So those are, if you like, where you discuss smaller subjects, or you niche into a tighter environment. So that's not a place to post your blog, but it's a place where you might want to debate the best way to get your blog inside Ecademy, so that you're not penalising yourself at your home base.
And you look at the messages that are on there, and I don't know what's that, memos or mems? But you look at the number of messages that are in these groups, and they're huge.
Yeah, that's members and messages. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
But you've got to remember, Chris, this is 14 years old.
Yeah.
This is not.
And
we're like an antique.
Yeah. You think about how much data is in there and how much knowledge base is in there to take and pull from.
Yeah, we have millions of pages of data. Millions.
Wow.
Millions.
You guys are probably.
But at the end of the day, because of the size of the internet, people like small, intimate groups. And people would always rather sit down and have a dinner with half a dozen people than they would stand in a room with 60 people. And it's nice to go to networking events, but it's more fun having a dinner with half a dozen people, isn't it?
Oh yeah, totally.
And I think the same is true online. It's nice to be in a membership of millions, but at the end of the day, when I speak to the members here, I say, how many people do you work closely with in Ecademy? And they always come back with the same answer, and the answer is always 30. So despite the fact there's 500,000 people in here, the reality is that people like to work in groups of about 30 people. And they probably spend a few years getting to know those 30. One of the things that Phil Libin said, who's CEO of Evernote, said on Tuesday, he spoke really well, was that when he introduces Evernote to people, he never sells to them, he lets them pay for it when they want to pay for it. He never emails them, there's no in-app purchases, there's no marketing to them. And the thing he discovered is that it takes 4 years on average for people to pay him to become a customer.
Wow.
And then they never leave.
Yeah.
And I think with Ecademy, it took us from 98 to 2003 to really lay the foundation. And then it just became a solid place. So I think, if you commit to a community, you do have to commit to it for a few years if you want to get some value out of it. If you pop in, you do see a lot of people popping in and trying to milk the membership. But the members know those people are just passing through,
Yeah.
Like a guy who moves into your town for a couple of years and then buggers off.
It really stands to the quality of what you guys are doing. With the Black Star groups, you have people, $100 a month. Obviously, they find an incredible amount of value that extends beyond that base price.
Well, you can see there's 575 people in that group alone. So,
and I can see there's I mean, I know most of these faces and names from the internet. I mean, I know that these people are all over the internet. They're very well regarded, and everything else. So, you know, these guys are power players. They're not some flash in the pan social media expert who was flipping burgers at McDonald's last week, and now they claim to know what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. And also, dare I say, they're all old, Chris.
Yeah. They're all old.
Yeah, they're all old.
Are you feeling your age there, Thomas?
I think I am. I think I am.
It's 7 a.m. You haven't had your breakfast yet?
I haven't had any breakfast. The other thing you've got here, Chris, is boardrooms. You see I'm clicking on boardrooms?
That's right.
So what we have there is we have peer-to-peer mentoring.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see here, you find a boardroom. Here's one here in Croydon. And what these are is these are groups of 12 people that meet for 4 hours and talk through issues.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see who are the chairman.
Now, when they meet, do they meet online, or is it in real life?
No, they meet face to face.
Wow.
And you can see where an event is. You can see who the chairmen are. And let's find this one, his Mick. And these are the members of his boardroom. So there's a small group there. You're talking about maybe a dozen, 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is you get together for 4 hours, and you only pick 2 issues. So everyone puts an issue forward who's there that day, but you only pick 2 out of those, say, dozen issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then you spend 2 hours on that one person and that one issue.
Mm-hmm.
And people love that.
Yeah.
Because it's like having your own board of directors.
One of the things that I talked about years ago, and I discovered after my partners and I separated businesses years ago, was I discovered the concept of having your own personal board of directors. And when I had investors and when I had partners, you know, we had a board of directors, and so I had people that you could go to, that you could say, hey, you know, and you could vet your ideas with and stuff. And there came a time where I took over our companies and separated myself from our partners, and they moved on to their things. And I found myself alone for the very first time in about 13 years of owning companies and businesses. And I didn't have anybody that I could really trust or that I could vet stuff by. And so I started to develop my own board, what I called my virtual board of directors, is what I call it, virtual board of directors. And so out of that, I collected people that I knew that were brilliant entrepreneurs that had their own companies, and people that I could bounce ideas off of with. And the beautiful part about the virtual board of directors was I didn't have to pay or hire them for advice. What I would offer them is that I would provide them the same services if they would come to me with their business interests, that I would help them. And that became invaluable. I did a video on my blog several years ago about how if you're a small business person, building a virtual board of directors is super important. And I can see that this is an awesome way to find those people, discover them, and to have those relationships.
It is. Now, Chris, when you were building that virtual board of directors, how many people were in that group with you?
About 6.
About 6.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we find that that's exactly what happens inside Ecademy. Typically, about 20 or 30 people join a boardroom, and about 6 to 10 turn up each month and talk things through. And obviously now with Hangouts, those boardrooms are moving into Hangouts. So they can be more international, more global.
And Google Plus?
On Google Plus. And obviously that's why we're very keen on the API, which we think is coming at the end of next week, to incorporate Hangouts inside our groups and boardrooms so members can have international boardrooms, as you've rightly said. And if you miss them, you know, record them and put them on YouTube so people can watch them if they miss them.
Yeah.
And if people are really smart, they'll add Google Wallet and start selling them too.
Yeah. And the hardest part for me was I had to go find people that, you know, could be on my board and that could do a great job, where you've done the hard work here. I can identify people that are the experts in their fields, people that I would want to associate with. You know, I had to go through a process of, you know, finding who the flaky people weren't, who they weren't, and, you know, sometimes we brought them on board and they were, you know, you're just like, oh man, you know, I don't know who this person is, but I keep bouncing ideas off them. They're an idiot. So I think it's great that you guys have that on here. You can go right to the experts. You can build a virtual board. You know, more and more what people need to realize is you've got to be international, and social media is the great venue that makes it easy to be international and to have international clients and do international business.
Yes.
So being involved
yes.
with like Ecademy, where you can reach out beyond the borders and tap into those additional markets, is a must-do and a great way to increase your revenue to your company.
Yeah, you're dead right, Chris. You're dead right, and I think you can build a board of directors between South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, India, China, England, USA, France on Ecademy. Mm-hmm. Now you won't build it overnight, but you'll easily build it in a few months. Mm-hmm. And the people on Ecademy are not Muppets. You mm-hmm. know, they're not time wasters. They're givers. They're not takers. They know you've got to build your business and pay your bills. They know you've got to build your own, and mm-hmm. they're very, very, very supportive and, dare I say, almost loving to one another. Mm-hmm. And you're so right about the need for an international board of directors, because the world is so different when you travel between Europe, the USA, South America, Asia, Africa, the Middle East. You know, you really have to adapt a lot now between these places. Mm-hmm.
And there's sometimes where you find you get more product acceptance in other markets that you don't expect.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a company that hired me to consult for them and help them with their online marketing, and they were largely targeting the U.S., but you can't help through social media picking up additional countries and interests. And suddenly they found a pool of people, I forget if it was Norway or Ireland or somewhere over there. They found kind of this pool of people that were in that industry that really, really loved their product and what they had to offer. And we were able to redirect from, you know, targeting this area to expanding that new pool. And it's one of those things that you know, as a business, you a lot of times when you start your business model and your mission, it ends up changing quite a bit over time, very quickly sometimes.
Yeah, we've experienced the same thing actually. Ecademy is a lot more popular in the Netherlands than it is here. And when we go to the Netherlands to events, they treat Penny and I like we're the King and Queen of England.
Wow.
It's I mean, I would say the Dutch are probably the best networkers in the world. I mean, maybe that's because they've had to be, because otherwise they'd have drowned.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
It's a very supportive, intimate environment in the Netherlands, and because Ecademy is intimate and supportive, it sort of matches their values. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you do find new markets.
So if I want to start on Ecademy and I want to join it for the first time, I'm a new user. What's the best pathway that you recommend that I take and do to engage Ecademy?
Okay, well the first thing to do is obviously complete a profile. As you can see here, add a photo, add a logo on your company, say a little bit about yourself. That's the first step. So filling all your profile data in. Mm-hmm. That's step one. Mm-hmm. and say what you want to say. So if I pick somebody who's online right now, if I say pick Martin here, he's obviously just out of bed. Morning, Martin. I look at Martin. I can see he's the founder of Penny On. He's in Manchester. I can see his photo. I can see some keywords about him. I can see he's on an expedition in the Sahara in September here.
Wow.
He's looking for volunteers to help him with that, administrators. So he does a lot of charity work, Martin. I can see his profile internationally, historically, professionally. So you see a very interesting person there.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can look at all of his blogs. If I click here and look at his blogs, I can see what he's been writing. He's a very active blog. He's done 426 blogs. So what I could do is either find a blog I want to comment on, because you don't need to be a paid member to comment on a blog.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see what he's written here since his top there, letter to Didi or Dedi. He's obviously talking about a project he's on right now in the Sahara. And I could make a little comment in here underneath, blah, 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 and submit that. And that would begin the process of me engaging with Martin.
Mm-hmm.
So just a profile and a comment is enough of a place to start.
Mm-hmm.
I would say just to engage in the blogs and make comments on all these different blogs here would be enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to find a blog that was, say, specific to a subject you're in, let's pick social media since that's the flavor of the month. If I search here on social media, I can look for specific blogs around a topic. And I can see who's writing blogs, what is social media a big scam, is it mainstream, ignoring social media, and so on. And I could pick one of these, what social networks work best for you. That was written a couple of years by William Bust. And I could read through that piece, see the comments, and then make a comment down at the bottom. So I think the best way to engage is just to comment in blogs.
And engage.
Engage.
Something that's very interesting with your system, though, there, is you guys are archiving all this stuff and make it easily indexable and findable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because if
you see things there, on one of the other things, there was like 6,000 or 7,000 views, several hundred comments. Yeah. And I think that's interesting because you guys are building almost a database, almost like Quora, only Quora isn't, you guys are more of a social network where Quora is just asking questions. But you guys have built a database there that you can easily archive and go back. I mean, if I want to find a discussion on Facebook, good luck.
Yeah, not a chance. We have got a very well-indexed database of blogs. Very well indexed.
That's really amazing.
And you can see there's a lot of activity. If I go to the top blogs of all time, there's an option here somewhere to sort all the blogs. Here, most liked blogs of all time. If I click on that and resort the blogs, here you can see 11,000 views, 132 comments, 32,000 views, 753 comments, 12,000 views, 154 comments. These there are some big threads. I mean, look at that one. Google Plus is creeping up on people. When did I write that? I wrote that in November. That's 14,000 views, 88 comments.
Start blogging on Ecademy. What am I doing?
You get, and like you say, Chris, it's indexed. Let's see what's we got. Date and recently liked, most liked. So you can, it's a giant blog with Chardonnay.
Yeah, you can drill down into it, and I mean that's really amazing what you guys have there. It's kind of like Quora, where if you want to go in and you want to find the answers to something on something, you can search for it, and it will come up. And there's this. What's amazing to me is how huge the views and the database, the comments are to take you to a point where you can have a plethora of data. I mean, if I wanted to even write about stuff or blog about stuff, sometimes when you get stumped and you're like, oh, what's a great topic to write about? And you can come in here and already see the discussion has just been built over the years.
Yeah, so I just searched that. You mentioned Quora. I just searched there in the blogs on Quora. I hit search. You can see there's 58 blogs on Quora.
Wow.
What does Facebook, Quora, and tablets have in common? Quora, have you joined yet? Quora, here's my question. Quora Empire, the Quora hype. There's 58 blogs there talking about Quora.
Wow.
If let me search on Chris Voss and see how many people talk about Chris Voss.
That'll be interesting.
There's 10 blogs there talking about Chris Voss.
Chris Voss explains Ecademy on YouTube. There you go.
But you get mentioned in a lot of pieces.
Twitter diarrhea. That would be probably appropriate.
Twitter diarrhea. Yeah, there's certainly no shortage of that. If I search on, say, Lewis Gray, and you can see everything's indexed in the search. It's got a very good search engine. See, there's 123 blogs talking about Lewis Gray.
Yeah.
And, Lewis was a member of Ecademy for like 5 years before he even joined Google.
Wow.
So, and there's, where's that? Is that when we all met?
Yeah, I believe Lewis Gray.
So there's Lewis, me, Rob Scoble, and Bob Barker. At Half Moon Bay at Pete's Coffee Shop. A couple of years back. So, that's a couple of years, 2010, 22nd of Feb 2010. So, this database here is of blogs. You're talking about, what was I saying there? You're talking about 135,000 blogs that are indexed over the last decade.
There's nothing that I've ever seen on the internet that's like that. Not that I can think of. Maybe Squidoo, but even then, it's about junk on Squidoo. Stupid.
But look, if I do a search on Ecademy in Google, 2.6 million references.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's a lot of content out there.
Definitely.
That's a lot of content.
Looks like Albuquerque public schools are cutting in on your action. You're gonna have to sue them.
Yeah, a lot of people are pinching the name. But I search on Chris Voss. 6 million references to Chris Voss. See if I can out search you on Google. Yeah, 396 million. Blown you away there, Chris.
Well, you've been on for 14 years.
I'm an antique. They'll be putting me out. They'll be putting me out on the road soon with a white coat on and pushing me about in a seat. But notice also, Chris, on the SEO, a great thing about Ecademy. If I go back to my profile, because this is the powerhouse of the SEO, if I click there on my profile, you can see down here in the SEO, you can add. Can you see that there? It says SEO keywords, SEO description. When you're a paying subscriber, you can adjust those words there. And when I search on my name, you see those words go straight into your Google.
Bitchin'. That is awesome.
There's my name, there's my cell phone number, there's my email address. If I go back to my profile, there's my name, there's my cell phone number, there's my email address. There's my description underneath. My description underneath goes straight into Google. So Google indexed those two fields exactly perfectly.
And that's one of the great things about you, Thomas. You're one of those guys that I really love in tech, where you're down to earth, and that's how we met, through Lewis Gray. Lewis Gray did a thing, and you were like, I put my phone number out. I don't care. I'll answer the phone, and people talk to me. Robert Scoble's the same way. Both of you guys put your number out, and I dialed it up one day and said, hi, I'd just like to introduce myself. And you guys actually answer the phone and return phone calls.
Yeah, well, look, if I go on my Twitter, there it says non-executive director, married to Penny, 3 kids. There's my cell phone number.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, if people want to ring me up, they can ring me up.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things about putting your cell phone number, your email address, and things is if you actually put it in there, people probably contact you less because they feel a bit embarrassed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a little bit like Dan Brown in Da Vinci Code. If you want to hide something, hide it in plain sight.
Hide it in plain sight. I did that for a while, where I actually put an auto DM back to everyone who friended me on Twitter, and I said, here's my number. I'd love for you to call me. Feel free to call me anytime. I tried to make it as warm and welcoming as possible. Very rarely did anyone call me the only calls I got were people that they thought that I was actually instructing them to call me personally and to them. They didn't realize it was an auto DM. But you hear there's a lot of people that they're like, oh, we must do engagement and all that, and you don't realize that some people just like to watch and they like to lurk. They're not really the engagers. But I really love Ecademy.
If you Google myself on Google, there you can see the first thing that comes up is my Ecademy profile, then my Twitter, then my LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
My Google Plus is down there in 5th place. My Facebook is in 6th place. If I Google my wife Penny Power, which is a pretty common name in the United States,
mm-hmm.
Her profile comes up, her website comes up, then comes up her Ecademy, then comes up the images of all the stuff she's been doing lately. Mm-hmm. If I search on Chris Voss.
Penny's good looking. I really screwed up. I should have asked her to interview.
Well, I asked that this morning when I dropped her on the train, and she said she's already done an interview with you. Has she?
No, I'm just kidding. No, she hasn't actually. But I think she's talked to me. What's kind of funny is when I get emails from you in my Revelance program. I think it's Revelance or one of my programs that tells me what people's social media things are. It always shows me her picture. So I'm like, I'm always confused. I'm like, did Thomas send that to me or did Penny send it to me?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know what that's.
So look, if I Google Lewis Gray, his blog comes first,
mm-hmm.
And then you see his Twitter, then his Facebook. You can see over on the right-hand side there. I can see his Google Plus.
Mm-hmm.
If I come down the page, you can see Ecademy's there on that first page.
Yeah.
So for somebody as famous as Lewis, Ecademy is still seriously well indexed in SEO terms.
I'm surprised friend feed is even still indexed. I mean, friend feed's supposed to be dead at this point.
Oh, I still love friend. Let me show you my friend feed. I sit and watch this. Let me show you this. I love my friend feed.
It's really too bad that kind of went downhill after Facebook bought it.
Can you see that on the screen?
Uh-huh.
Can you see the speed it's refreshing?
Oh, yeah.
So I sit and watch this. Looking for stories.
It's insane.
I still think friend feed is better than Google Plus for streaming.
Yeah. That's just insane. I have some apps on my iPad that bring my follower base on home in as it really comes, and it's insane. You can't even watch the thing. It's just like this.
What app do you use on your phone for that?
I'd have to look them up and give them to you. But there's some I know that do it, and then one of them that will really give you. I don't know if they have the fire hose or what. One of them, Streamboard. And if you search for stuff in Streamboard, it can give you just a really crazy. Like I just searched here for filter.
Is that in the App Store, Streamboard?
Yeah, yeah. Robert Scoble turned me on to it. Here we'll search for Ecademy for fun, and you'll just see it just going crazy there. And it will live bring you the stuff as soon as somebody punches it into Twitter. It will update. So I'm not sure if they have the fire hose or what they have, but it's pretty crazy. And like when you see trending topics, it'll just be, it's like a stream of water going before you. Streamboard app.
Streamboardapp.com.
Mm-hmm.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. Scoble loves the crap out of it. When you're seeing something trend on Twitter and stuff, the thing is amazing, and it just. There's a few other. I'll have to look up which Twitter apps do it, but there's a few of them that will give me almost a live feed of my home screen, and it's that same sort of craziness.
Oh, I'm definitely going to use that.
Yeah.
I think
you've got me sold on doing a blog now on Ecademy. I mean, that's going to be one of the first things I'm going to do when we get done here, is start blogging on Ecademy.
Well, what you could do is if you speak to William Bust, he could take your feed from wherever you store your blogs, and he could get them to load, say, once a day or once a week.
Really?
Automatically.
And I know William from Empire Avenue.
Because he does that as a personal service for people, because, a few people like you, big guys like you need it all automated and done for you.
Yeah.
But we'd only do that as a personal service for people we knew and we could trust, because otherwise, we'd have people scamming the whole thing with data.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that would be bad for our reputation.
And that's the other thing I really love about Ecademy, and even Google Plus is bad about that, where the people come in with the pictures and the internet memes, and you're just like, oh my God, this is so much crap. Facebook is the same way. I mean, it gets dumbed down to a point of thing on Facebook where you're just like, oh my gosh, you try and get rid of those people from your feed, and it's just a nightmare to constantly fight with. So I like how Ecademy has always been you just feel like you're in a boardroom, really. That's awesome, Thomas. I mean, what is the score again, too, by the way?
What is the score?
I see there's a score by your name or a number by your name.
Oh, yeah, we created a little algorithm that calculates your activity across 23 platforms. So Clout, Peer Index, LinkedIn, Ecademy blogs, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Empire Avenue, every single one.
Wow.
And we average out the score on activity.
That's pretty amazing. You guys are scoring the scores. You guys are combining the Clout, the Peer Index, and the Cred. And
yeah, we thought it would be better to have a sort of average of averages.
Huh.
Because if you look at the web, they had Joe Fernandez, CEO of Clout, at the web, and he got a real brutal interview from Alexia from, I think she's with TechCrunch or TechWeb or one of those things. And they were dissing Clout. And I don't think any of the measurement systems should be dissed. I mean, I know they're not perfect.
Yeah.
But like Alexa, these things are a guide. So what we did is we took our Ecademy score that you see on the screen there. We took Clout, we took Peer Index, we took Cred, we took LinkedIn testimonials, we took Twitter, we took Google+, we took Empire Avenue, we took Facebook, we took Pinterest, and we basically added them all up and divided by 23. And that's what your Ecademy score is.
And you know what? That's probably going to get you closer to the quality of influence, because one of the things that I've always had with Clout is you guys really only measure like Google+, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yeah.
And I have a Clout score that's online with some people that have blogs that there's nothing going on in their blog. They maybe blog twice a year. Yet, with my blog, I have close to 150,000 readers, I think it is now, on a monthly basis. And so I'm like, how come their Clout score is the same as mine? Those people aren't doing anything. And, here I am working my butt off. So I think it's brilliant you guys do that. And, yeah, an analysis of the average of the rankers is going to get you much closer to some semblance of a real score.
I'll tell you what was really interesting this week, Chris, at the web. I'm just looking up, see if I can find the week's profile here. Clout is not that fast. So the week's Clout score is 77. Mine is 70. I'll just look at Chris Voss, see what yours is.
I don't even pay attention to what mine is.
So you're on 77. So you're on the same as Loic. So you guys are 7 points ahead of me.
And I would tell you that Loic's way more influential and more known and should have a much higher score than I should have. I mean, it's almost kind of funny in that nature.
Whether he should or he shouldn't, I think you do more activity. That's Thomas Hort. I wasn't looking for Thomas Hort. If you look at this guy here, because people are always slagging off. So this guy here, Thomas Morphew, you've probably seen Thomas on Google+. And he's been running the training courses. I've run a lot of training courses on Google+, and I hired Thomas to run them. But he has a Clout score, you see, of 74. What Loic did at the web this week is if you had a Clout score of more than 70, 70 didn't count, you had to have more than 70, You got into the web for free.
Wow.
Now that's £1,500. So that's $2,500.
Yeah.
So anybody who says that clout's worth nothing
is fooling themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've actually seen people will actually decide who they date. I believe it's the Silicon Valley, but who they will date based upon their clout score.
So that would be clouting?
Yeah, in fact, I did a joke about it on one of my podcasts recently. We were joking about how we were going to make an eharmony.com, match.com dating website based on your clout score. And we would match you with other dates based upon your clout. Is there one that's doing that now? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, hang on a second. I'm just looking at that clout. Yeah, there is cloutdating.com.
Really?
That's brilliant.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I was joking about how I only want to date other women with high clout scores because I want our children to have high clout scores when we repopulate.
That's brilliant, Chris.
And we had a nice little session. It's one of the bits I do about stuff. But yeah, I can't believe somebody actually did that clout dating. You actually.
I'm gonna put this on clout. Is this clout dating? Is this for real? Is this for real? Wow. I want high clout score kids.
You know, high clout score, is it not indicative that you're lonely and sitting at home and spending a lot of time on the computer? I mean, do you really want to find another person like that in your life? We were joking with my co-host, Jody Raines, about that. We were joking about people that they'll be sitting right next to each other on the couch in their relationship, texting each other, and they're sitting right next to each other. There's a thing where 10 or 15% of people that during sex will be texting on their mobile phone.
During sex?
During sex. I don't know.
Actually, in the moment of sex?
In the moment of sex, they will be.
Oh, I can't believe that. I couldn't. Yeah. I don't think I could actually manage to do that.
I've had friends that they insist on watching TV during sex, and I'm like, is there something more entertaining on, like the sex itself? So I don't know. It's
watching TV while they're having sex.
I mean, no, your mileage will vary depending upon. I don't know.
That's madness.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So
I think sex is a time when you should spend some time with the person that you're with, without a television and without a cell phone and without Twitter.
Exactly. It's, I mean, technically sex should just be between you, yourself, a monkey, the midget, and probably a circus clown. I mean, that's how it works for me. I don't know about you. So anyway, people should check out Ecademy. I'm going to be going on there tonight and start my first blog on Ecademy. Go to ecademy.com, sign up for Ecademy, test it out, test drive it. One of the first people you probably want to make your friend on Ecademy is Thomas Power. Obviously, he's a real down-to-earth, super nice guy. And I noticed throughout the day, too, Thomas, that you actually tweet out and help post and promote some of the cool conversations that are on Ecademy.
Yeah, I tweet. Well, I always see people who are following me on Twitter or any one of these forums as my readers, and I see it as my job to get them data.
Yeah.
If I think a story is good, like at the web, I must have tweeted, I don't know, 1,000 times because there was some good stuff there in the comments, and I know people wouldn't get round to seeing them.
Yeah.
And so I guess we're in a world now where you've got to create, you've got to get the content to the people you think should get to it, and
most definitely. And then, so moving on, so if I think we got Ecademy covered there. Go to ecademy.com. There'll be a link below the video on the Chris Voss Show. Be sure to check it out. I really have liked Ecademy for a lot of years. I've done a lot of reviews of the product as they've done adjustments, and I like them better than LinkedIn in a lot of ways, especially from an international scale. And I really feel that if you're in social media, you really got to start looking beyond our borders. I'm speaking from us in the U.S., of course, beyond our borders into international waters. And, of course, what a great place to start in a country that speaks your language, the European community. And so, Thomas, one of the other things I want to do, and that I really like about you, Thomas, you do a lot of videos. You talk about where the future of social media is going. You have a lot of great ideas on social media. And I'm going to probably be doing some panels. We're going to bring on 3 or 4 CEOs and have them talk about the Web 3.0, what the future of social media is. And I'll definitely want you part of that grouping. But anything you saw on the web or anything that you want to talk about, what you feel the future of social media is, where it's going, where we're going to be 3-5 years from now, Thomas?
Well, it's always dangerous to. Shall I take this? Shall I drop the browser off now? Come back to the.
And you know, we're not going to hold you anything because we realize this is a pretty fluid.
Hang on, if I close the browser, I'm going to drop that. How do I get rid of the screen share?
You hit the screen share button. It'll say it says screen share. There you go.
Okay, cool.
Got you back.
One of the things that really intrigued me at the web, Chris, was the age of the kids doing the pictures. We had kids ranging from 16 to 25 talking about all sorts of web apps, mobile web, HTML5, Android, on Windows Phone, on Windows 8, you know, it was the age of the kids. I felt like the age of the kids was coming.
Yeah.
And I was sitting next to a guy who did a pitch. What was his name? Alex. And I said, how old are you, Alex? And he said, oh, I'm 24. And I said, Jesus. I said, I'm twice your age. And he said, he replied and said, oh, hello, Dad.
Well, at least he didn't call you old fart.
Yeah, I get that a lot. But I guess I was really excited by the idea that there's so many young kids coming up with ideas.
Oh, yeah.
And so young that I thought, you know, we really are building an internet economy now, worldwide. And the other thing that fascinated me was when they talked about the number of people on the web, you know, there's something like, I think we're closing in like 3 billion people on the web now, and all the mobiles and smartphones and so on. And it's something crazy, like only 13% of those were in the United States. And I thought, wow, you know, like 85-90% of the people on the web now are not American.
Yeah.
So the scale, as you were saying quite rightly earlier, you're dead right. There's a lot of opportunity outside of North America now for these kids. And they're doing all sorts of apps and in-app purchases, and they have so many ways to monetize the audience, and so many different angles. When Loic was running the pitch session, it was just mind-blowing. So that was the thing I found so exciting.
And the thing that's really cool is that the VCs accept those people, and they have different ways of bringing them up, mentoring them, and bringing them in the system. I mean, you look at Zuckerberg. I mean, Zuckerberg knew nothing about being a CEO and running a company, and you know, I've heard a lot of people give him crap over the years about how, oh, Zuckerberg made this mistake. Hey, the kid's 24. At 24, I was doing a lot of stupid things. Doing a lot of stupid things.
I think he's only 28 now, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean,
a 28-year-old kid running a $100 billion business.
Yeah. And I think.
But yeah, I was really excited by that. I tell you, I was also very excited about the fact that VCs are supporting HTML5, the mobile web, and you know, I think HTML5 and the mobile web is big, really big, and it may even be that the current apps we're using on our smartphones are a transitioning technology, and we're sort of going through them. And they will have passed through in the next 3 to 5 years, and we'll be building proper mobile web apps as opposed to websites. Because HTML5 are really websites as apps. So I was very excited by all of those pictures. So I think that's going to be big.
I mean, you really look at it from what Khan Academy is doing and Code Academy.
Those guys were both there, by the way.
Yeah, and I've been seeing people like Jesse Stay talk about how amazing it is to have his kids start learning coding. And kids, you know, they can learn languages at a much younger age than us adults when we're kind of stuck in our ways. And so they can learn this coding. And, you know, when I was young, I mean, I started my first company when I was 18. But when I was young, I had a lot of great ideas. I used to argue with my old man about what I thought would work and what would work. And ultimately, I was usually right. The problem was I didn't have any capital. I didn't have any capital, and no one wanted to fund some stupid 20-year-old. But now, I mean, you see these kids in Silicon Valley. They're like 19 years old. They're on their second venture. You know, I read about, there was a girl who she made like $100 million. She basically technologically made it so that the graduation picture process that you go through in high school, she somehow made that, you know, like a Facebook or something. I don't know what it was. But she sold that for like $100 million, and she's on to something else. She's like not even legal, you know, age of 18. And I'm just like going, you know, you and me are going, what are we doing wrong? But I think, you know, when I look at these kids and I see, when I first started seeing the iPad videos of these children that were, you know, just drooling down the side of their mouth at 2 or 3 months old, but they can connect and interact with an iPad, I'm like, what are these kids really going to expect out of their world as they grow? And, it's pretty
I think
exciting.
you make a good point about Jesse and his kids on Code Academy or Khan Academy. I think Code Academy is absolutely brilliant. And I think it's a real failing in Europe and in North America that we don't teach software engineering from like 5 years old.
We should.
Because
if you have kids, that's what you need to be teaching them.
I've got a little app business that I run with a couple of guys called Daniel and Andrew, and they're 25 and 26. They've been coding since they were 5 and 6 years old, and they are brilliant. They've had 20 years of writing programs. So they are, you know, in terms of Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hour rule, they are experts.
Yeah.
And they just have the most amazing ideas. And I think, you know, we've got to put software engineering in the curriculum like we have maths and English and French and everything else at 5 or 6, because we could have millions and millions of kids creating stuff for the internet economy, and you and I would actually get a pension from them.
There you go. Well, you wouldn't, being an and I suppose I get Social Security of some type for them. You know, I got to tell you, I don't have any kids, but I have my 2 dogs that I'm teaching coding to. So they better start coding if they want to get treats from here on out.
So what's that? Is that the dog? Is that the Dog Academy or is that the Wolf Academy?
Dog Academy, Wolf Academy. I don't know. It could be another clout dating site. I'm not sure. But you know, you're right, and it's going to be interesting how these kids grow up in this future and they think of this new world in this paradigm. Like when I was a teenager, like 12 years old, I wasn't thinking about coding. I wasn't dealing with iPads. I was throwing dirt clods against the sidewall of our house. I mean, that's where my brain level was at. Nothing's changed really. But I
still like doing that.
I look like that now. I'm going to go do that after the video. But you look at how these kids, they're growing up with this stuff. And like, I'll never forget, I just saw recently this video of this father. He hands his 16-year-old daughter a record, and she's like listening to an iPod, and he's like, "This is what we used to play our music on." And she like looked at him like, "What, were you nuts?" Yeah. And
I think in many ways it's quite exciting because there's a lot of dissing. I don't know whether this happens in North America, but there's a lot of dissing in Europe about celebrity culture and, you know, X Factor, the singing shows, The Voice, that we've created a very shallow, money-driven, image-driven, six-pack, muscle-building, you know, bag of poo. But one of the things that I find with the kids, even with my 3 teenagers, and with the guys I work with on these apps, is this celebrity culture has inspired them to write apps to create money for themselves.
Yeah.
Because they think, well, I can't be a famous singer. I can't have the best six-pack. I'm not the best-looking guy in the town, but I can write apps.
Mm-hmm.
And so the celebrity culture might have had a positive impact in terms of, well, I'm going to be famous through apps or HTML5 or mobile web. So I think we could be really, particularly when you see the APIs opening up, and APIs are really the new currency, aren't they?
Yeah.
Every business in the world has got to take their data set and turn it into an API.
Almost like a bank.
And make it available to people. So, sorry, I missed that.
We're almost like a bank, actually, with an API where you can turn it into cash, and cash turns cash, product through it.
And I've got lots of friends who've got big data businesses with no API, and I'm saying, look, let's put an API together. Let's release the data sets that we're happy to release. Let's put this out into the app world and let the kids have a bash at it.
Yeah.
And the thing about the kids is they see things from so many more angles than the adults.
Oh yeah.
And I'm actually really excited. I think the shit we've been in economically since 2007, 2008, it's been going on a long time now. Mm-hmm. And it'd be fair to say that none of the banks have got any idea what to do. None of the politicians have got any idea what to do. None of the so-called giant chief executives of the giant companies worldwide, they haven't got a clue what to do. None of the economists have got a clue what to do. But I think if we build an internet economy with the kids, that can get us out of this hole.
And it really gets into the entrepreneurialism. You've probably seen some of the TED Talks. There's a couple of my favorites that we need to start teaching kids about being entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I've been really lucky throughout my life, and it sounds like you've had the same experience in your life, where you've always been able to know how to make money and how to build money, how to get more of it. And there's a sequence that you go through in your brain that's just very normal. I mean, I've left industries and moved into other industries, left industries, moved into other industries, stuff that we've owned for a decade or two that we never thought we'd leave. And having that ability to just go into another industry, use the same tools and mechanisms that I had for business building, and now with this technological lifestyle data technology they have, and then of course being able to monetize it is just incredible. I mean,
I think you're dead right. In fact, Chris, what we really need is a How to Be an Entrepreneur Academy and a How to Build Code Academy as one. Mm-hmm. So you put the entrepreneurs and the coders together in some kind of school, I don't know, from the age of 10 or 15, whatever is the right age, and you just teach people. We let the old farts like us teach the young kids. When you think about what it is to be an entrepreneur, it's about having ideas, and yes, it's about sourcing capital, but most importantly, it's about talking ideas through.
Yeah.
Until they're actually sound enough to make money. Mm-hmm.
And then you still have to deal with people. You still have to deal with partners, employees, payroll.
Exactly. The guy who's created the app, I don't know whether you've seen it. It's a really nice little app. It's called Summly, Summly. Have you seen Summly?
No, I don't think so.
Just pull that down there on your pad or your iPhone. I think I've spelled that right. Let me just check that. Yeah, it's Summly.
Okay.
So if you look at that, just excuse me. If you look at that app, you can summarize content on different websites.
So bringing in the data.
So you can just put any data in there. Put in the Chris Voss Show and read all your blogs and have them summarized for you.
Wow.
Or Ecademy blogs or Google Plus or anything. The guy who wrote that app, Chris, is 16 years old. His name is. You should interview him actually. His name is Nick Delazio. And he was on stage at the Web at 16.
Wow.
And he's raised $500,000 for that app.
That is insane.
That is insane. Now, it's not the greatest app in the world, but it's pretty good. It does some stuff.
Yeah, it's better than what I do.
And I think, what would be great is if we had 10,000 Nick Delasios.
Yeah.
But you see, these guys have got they've got the technical skills. Mm-hmm. They haven't really got the entrepreneurial skills and the contacts yet, but they need access to the APIs. Mm-hmm. If they could get, the API from Experian, the API from Equifax, the API from Dun & Bradstreet, mm-hmm. the API from the retailers, the API from the supermarkets, the API from the banks, if we could give these kids access to the APIs, I reckon they could create 1 million different applications.
And I think
millions of new revenue streams.
I think on AngelList I've seen at least one startup that's working to make prepackaged APIs where it can make it easy for companies to do that.
What's that? AngelList.com?
AngelList.co, I think it is. I know there was somebody I saw that did that, where they were building a forum or building a program, basically where you could more easily. It's AngelList.co.
Yeah, I've got it.
Sorry, I'm giving it to you wrong. Angel.co. Angel.co.
Angel.co. It says over 1,000 startups on AngelList have gone on to raise big rounds. Is that what it is?
Yep. And there's one of them on here that I'd taken a look at, and this is where you can see a lot of startups, a lot of ideas, a lot of people looking for VCs, venture capital, and new rounds. But there's one that's on here where they're building a system whereby a company can very easily create an API and get it published without having to go through. I think they could do it in a shorter time span than what it would take to normally build an API the long ways. And so they're actually building that as a service to companies, and all that. So it's amazing how you look at some of the things that are being done in Y Combinator right now. I'm not sure if Y Combinator does any business help, but yeah, I mean, most definitely when you really think about how, okay, well, if most of the businesses are going to go onto the web and we're going to move away from brick and mortar, you've got to create jobs somewhere, and apps, of course, have been a great way to make that happen. And of course, everything's got to be, turned into something that's informational and knowledge based on the internet.
Yeah, and I think you keep hearing this phrase about data is the new oil, and big data, and the amount of data we're going to have by 2020 is the number they said the other day at the conference was like exabytes. I don't even know how much an exabyte is, but it was trillions of exabytes. But I think it's all right having the data and the data being manufactured, and that might be the new oil. But without the APIs being organized and the kids having access to the APIs, we're just going to have tons of data that we can't interpret and monetize. Mm-hmm. And so I think one of the education problems is not with the kids necessarily, it's also with the adults, that mm-hmm. people who run companies don't think of their company as a lump of data. Mm-hmm. Think about exposing their companies. Guys in their 40s and 50s don't think, shit, we've got tons of data here. Mm-hmm. Let's hire some geeks, get an API, and see what the kids can create, because execs don't think like that. You think of the data they've got at Unilever, Procter & Gamble, BP, British Telecom, General Electric, Microsoft, or Coca-Cola. All the giant companies in the world are loaded with data, loaded mm-hmm. with it. Mm-hmm. And they spend all their time in trying to do something with it. Well, rather than them doing something with it, I think we really need to get organized on APIs globally. I don't think we are yet. And then bang that out into the stores, App Store and Android, mm-hmm. and just let the kids start bashing away at it at 5 or 6 years old and see what they can create.
Yeah. I mean, you hear the numbers of where we're going with mobile, and mobile is really the revolution or the thing that's driving this revolution in social media. I don't think social media would be as big as it is without mobile. But you look at stuff like I was reading the other day that within several years now, mobile's going to be huge in Africa. and a large part of the continent is going to be able to go mobile. Partially because of how inexpensive it is to own a mobile phone as to buy and build a computer. And when you really look at the potential markets that still have yet to come online and how third world countries may have the potential to bring themselves up through technology and mobile and everything else.
Yeah, well, like you say, the scale, when you go to places like India and Africa, it's all going to be mobile. It's all going to be HTML5, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's where it's going to end up.
I mean, largely in Africa, you have people that are doing their banking over mobile phones. In places like Afghanistan, they were having problems where when people were getting their payroll checks and going to cash them, they were getting hustled from the local mafia to get a cut of their payroll checks or cashing checks. And so they came up with a system whereby they started paying employees through mobile, and then there were centers that they could go to cash their check instead of having a hard check in hand and being able to deal with getting hustled on the way to the bank or however it worked. But they actually found they could circumvent the mob, the mafioso, or the shakedown artists that were getting cut of these people's checks, like 10%, 15%. They found they could get around them by paying them through a mobile device.
That's fantastic.
It's just exciting when I think about how third world countries like Africa and different places can really enter the realm of revolution, education, everything else. I mean, that's what's really driving for us the Arab Spring, is because these countries can't lie to their people anymore, because their people can get on a mobile and go, hey, the Americans aren't worried about us anymore. They're having a good time at McDonald's. I want to go to McDonald's. I want to buy those tennis shoes. And so I think it's beautiful where no matter where you are on the planet, if you have a mobile phone, I did a blog post back at the early days of the Arab Spring when Egypt was first starting to come under pressure, and you could just see these seas, the picture of seas of mobile phones, of people taking pictures of them tearing down the Mubarak posters. And I realized how important that was in spreading the information and breaking down the walls of oppression and people's mindsets of coming to revolution. And that's really what's going to bring more education, more value, more riches, more jobs, maybe pull a lot of these third world countries out of the state that they're in, and globally create, hopefully, a better world where we're all in one place.
Yeah. I think there's still a lot of education problems though with the politicians, the bankers, the older entrepreneurs, because they really don't want to learn all this stuff, Chris. I mean, I speak to a lot of directors and they say, I don't want any apps. I don't want to be on LinkedIn. I don't want to be Twitter. I don't want to be Google+. I don't want to be blogging. I don't want to be on YouTube. I just want to be invisible and get through to retirement and get the hell out of this place. and these are guys are aged from 40 to 55, and they're basically, they don't want to join in.
Yeah.
They just don't want to join in. And most of the world is still run by those 40 to 55-year-old guys.
Yeah.
I think when the kids who are like 25 now become 40 to 55 over the next 20 years, the whole world is going to be like it's going to be an online lunatic asylum. There'll be so much stuff going on. People like you and I won't even be able to keep up, but then we'll be so old we won't care.
Yeah, we won't care. I'll be looking at nurses in my wheelchair, chasing them around. But yeah, it is going to be interesting, and I think you touch on some of the future things that are going on now. People are realizing, governments are realizing the power that these new dominions hold, and the fact that they got to try and control them. You see the SOPAs and the different things that are going on here in the U.S. I think the UK, someone in the UK recently had a SOPA-like legislation that was going on.
It got killed in days.
Yeah, and people are trying, and the thing that most people need to really realize is that there's going to be more and more battles over this frontier and land grabs and everything else to try and get control of it, to try and be able to shut it down. I mean, people are realizing that it's a power. It could almost be a government unto itself, really. I don't know how
yeah, that is worrying. That is worrying people. One of the things, a great speaker at the web was Alec Ross, who's the special advisor to Hillary Clinton, and he talked about a world where there is no control. So you've got to forget about control. If there is no control, you just have to embrace the fact that instability is the new control. Mm-hmm. Which I thought, well, that'll suit the Americans because they love instability everywhere. But, you know, American geopolitics is based on instability. That's how they create the need for themselves. But I think one of the downsides of the world, you know it's true, that's why you're laughing.
That's why I'm laughing, yeah.
One of the downsides of the relationship between America and China, which does need fixing, is that the Chinese perceive Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, they perceive those things to be weapons. Uh-huh. They don't position them as social networks. They think the Americans have built these things to attack them, to bring down their old communist system and switch it into, you know, a so-called democracy. And I think there's still a perception in a lot of places in the world that the Americans are trying to dominate the web with Google, Facebook, and Twitter, and they're now using these are their new nuclear bombs. It's not the Cold War, it's the Internet war. And now, you know, rather than send in helicopter gunships or send in aircraft carriers, Obama's sitting there and saying, no, not gunships, not troops, not tanks. No, send in Twitter and Facebook. Just send them in. And I think that's actually, whilst that might actually be a bit glib, it's those environments have really disturbed a lot of the non-Western, so-called democratic thinking world to such an extent that they do feel quite threatened. And you probably need 20 or 30 years of the kids who just see them as utilities and application environments.
Do you think it's going to be 10 or 20 years, or do you think it would be 5?
I think until we run a general election on Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus, I can't see that happening in 5 years.
Because I mean, I've talked on Google Hangouts with the kids that are in Google that are in China, and they've figured out a way to peel back the firewall, and they're talking to us technically illegally. And it's interesting to see their ideas and points of view and how much they spend watching and learning about our world, even though they're not supposed to. And but they're smart enough to be able to get around it, and I suppose in some way not get caught. And really, when it comes to the Chinese, there's so many of them. I mean, how do you regulate that mess? But I think.
Yeah, but you've got to remember, Chris. You've got to remember. You know, how do you regulate that mess? The Chinese, they can turn off a word on the internet.
But I mean, you look at countries like the Arab Spring countries. Those people could turn off everything: power, lights, water, the internet. And
I know, but even if you look at Egypt a year on, right, it's still a mess. It's still a mess. You know, they've got the choice between a Muslim leader and a military leader. And if you see the kids who are interviewed, just watch the kids interviewed on the news or on YouTube. They're disappointed. A year later, they had a revolution. Thousands of people died. They used all this technology. There was a lot of damage to the infrastructure of the country. And they're left with the Muslim Brotherhood to vote for, which is like a 1,000-year-old political party, or the old leader of the military who used to work for Mubarak. Yeah. So they're not advancing.
They're definitely more advanced than they do. I mean, because as you said, they actually have a choice now. It may not be the best of choices, but they certainly have something more than they had with Mubarak, where it was pretty much 30 years of forced rule.
True.
And if you really look at the Arab Springs and how that flowed, I really think that it can flow a lot faster. I would say 5 years would be my bet. Will there be?
But when do you expect to see the American general election conducted on Facebook, Twitter?
I don't know if we so much need to have that mobile revolution. I would even say 5 years. I would say that already. I'm trying to think if they have. There's different. I think there's different electoral areas that are already talking or balloting off of either the internet or they're doing studies to try and figure out how to do the balloting off the internet, which scares the crap out of the status quo because, American elections for years, I don't know about Europe and stuff, were always run by making sure not a lot of people or the right type of people or wrong type of people showed up for an election. But no, I think what I'm talking about is more so revolution in industries like China and other areas of oppressive governments, bringing them into out of their third world area and into the new fold of the new economy and information. And I mean, already you're seeing stuff. There's a gal in China who has been able to keep from being arrested, and she's being able to go around and start shaking the old guard. China's dealing with a lot of stuff that a lot of countries have to deal with, whether they're having to deal with legal issues and boundaries and laws and land and governance and all that sort of stuff, and that's a huge quantity to go through. But I see them being challenged in the next 3 to 5 years. If you look at how quickly these governments were overthrown in the Arab Spring, are they perfect yet? No, but they're certainly a lot more difference and a lot more optimism and choice than what they had before. I mean,
I think you're more confident than I am, because I'm looking at 2012 and comparing it with 1994 and thinking, have companies changed? No. Has politics changed? No. Have political parties changed? No. And that's in the Western world.
Yeah. I think what you're going to find is that with mobile and social media, people have the ability and power to make a difference and make change more. You've seen it in your end. We've seen it on our end. We had a company recently. A great example was Bank of America. They wanted to introduce a $5 fee. A lot of people felt it was unfair. They started a Facebook page on it, and they changed the world. And the company had to change. I mean, these companies and governments more and more are being put on notice that they got to start listening. They got to start paying attention to what the people actually want, and they just can't railroad laws through. And the collective way that people can join together, that can create a common voice of power, is through mobile and social media. And as more people get a mobile phone in their hands and it becomes cheaper and more elemental, that power raises a voice that can't be stopped. And I really think that's the key to that.
Yeah, I think you're more confident about it than I am.
Yeah. I mean, will it change politicians? Will politicians still be liars, cheats, and steals? No. Yeah, it's not going to change them. Will companies still have bureaucrats and autocrats, people that want to be in power? No, it won't change any of that. But it will change the fact that they have to pay attention, they have to look over their shoulder, and everyone's going to have video, everyone's going to have mobile, and I think it's really going to make a difference. A mobile phone is the new gun of the revolution I wrote about last year. And you don't need a gun to change the world anymore. You need a phone. You even see it with what the Americans and the Israelis recently created their own virus and sent it on to the Iranians, which you were talking about earlier, where now a company can send technology at someone instead of warships and everything else, which creates kind of a scary universe that we're going to be living in the future, where there's going to be viruses and crazy government, nuclear war on the internet, fighting between each other. But I really feel that mobile's going to change the world, and it's going to change it very quickly and dynamically, like we're seeing it now. Will it be a perfect change? Probably not. But will people have more choice? I think so.
Yeah. I definitely think people have more choice, and I am very excited about mobile. I guess I'm just disappointed by the inability of governments and companies to really embrace it all. I mean, it's so obvious how powerful it is, and I don't understand the block. And the block seems to be, I'm not interested, I don't care, I'm too old, it's not for me, it's too dangerous. And I think that's kind of stealing the future from our children, and I think that's not right.
And I think you're definitely right. I mean, there's something where you've got to embrace it. And it's one of those elements of human nature that comes down to human nature doesn't love change. I mean, growing up, I went through the 80s as a teenager when America was a dominant force in the auto industry and unions were a powerful element in the economy of the U.S. And suddenly we became dinosaurs overnight with gas prices and oil prices. And suddenly the Chinese or the Japanese started coming in with their product and everything else, and there was this huge anti-Japanese thing, and you should buy American and blah, blah, blah. And that whole thing, and I just looked at it and I went, look, this is the way it has to happen. This is the way of progression. There's no use in fighting it. You've got to learn and grow. And all my years of being in business, I mean, people that fight change, that fight growth, that fight progress, they're just conning themselves and buying time to be put out to retire. And so,
yeah.
And our world's moving much more faster with these technologies. You've got to embrace them faster and be in them. And so that's the important reason to be on Ecademy.com, so that you can see where those are and learn from all those smart people on the internet, right?
Yeah, I think also, these big events we have, where we all get together at these conferences, I think those are very important. But it would be nice if it wasn't just, all us geeky types. It'd be nice if there were some chief execs there and some politicians there, and they could see the stuff that was going on.
Maybe that's what they need. They need more invitations to the party and more understanding.
Maybe as an old man, I'm going to have to go into politics, Chris, with Penny.
I'll vote for you. I'll vote for you, and Penny would make a great vice president or something along those lines. But, I mean...
no, Penny would have to be president. I'd have to be the drunk in the car and the driver in the car.
Okay.
But, if you think about Obama, we had such great hope for him, didn't we, on the web?
Yeah.
And he's absolutely useless.
Well, I wouldn't say completely useless, but largely so.
Okay, but if you were going to grade him over the last 4 years on a score out of 10, 10 being good and 1 being terrible, what would you give him?
5.
Oh, well.
Are you
a Democrat or a Republican?
I'm neither. I'm a bipartisan moderate radical. Not only am I down the middle, I'm way up the middle.
Bipartisan moderate radical.
A bipartisan moderate radical. Not only am I in the middle, I'm way up the middle. So figure out that platform. But I want
moderate radical. That's a BMR.
Something like that, yeah. I should start a party. But I just want what's good for the country, and I think there's certain things that make logical sense without being linked to a paradigm of someone's right or left. I hate. To me.
I agree with that.
Well, I don't want to get into politics because we'll have a whole mess of stuff going on in this thread with comments. But I just want what's good for the country. And I think politicians are finding they've got to listen to social media. They've got to start listening to these venues about what's important. And, you were talking about how, you were asking me, how soon, Chris, do you see an election be taking place on social media? All of these people, including the next election cycle that Obama and Romney and some of our politicians are going to be going through here soon, they're all going to social media hangouts. They're all embracing that. So what's going to come out of that is what you're talking about, where probably the next few years, 5 years, we'll be voting on social media. The like button will be a vote button. And it almost kind of is now when you really look at some of the stats in some of our past elections. They literally found that the most people that were being talked about on social media, the more likes they had and everything else, were the determinators for who was potentially going to win the elections.
I like the sound of that a lot, Chris.
Yeah.
I really do. I really do like the sound a lot.
Where they have to come for their meal, and they got to eat here and live here, They're going to say, hey, we want the votes to be here. And certainly it beats walking around Iowa eating bad hot dogs and kissing ugly babies.
Yeah, that would be interesting. So what you're saying is basically you could run a political campaign and a like is a vote.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. From what they've found in all the recent elections that we've done, they can determine who's winning based upon the conversations on Twitter and Facebook, the conversations, the likes, and who's following. I mean, that was one of the things, even when Obama was running 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, he was dominating social media. He had like the most whatever likes and everything on Facebook, from what I recall rightly. And it was very apparent that people in social media really liked him, and the discussion was going there. And so, really, social media isn't so much what Twitter and Facebook is, but it's actually a relevant sampling of what we're talking about, you and I, or whatever the case may be, and what's on our mind and what's topical. And so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we're seeing Romney and these new election people. Romney has an iPhone app now that came out. He spelled America wrong, but it wasn't him. It was probably someone from his staff.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Called it Emercia. So I'm not really sure what that's about, but we're sending him over to you when we're done with him. That could be a new Euro country, Emercia. You guys can put it above Norway somewhere. But
I think if Romney doesn't win, I think the Republican Party's finished.
Well, I don't know about finished. I mean, there's always the ball just seems to go back from one end of the thing to another. But I think more and more they've learned that they have to live in our world. Obama, I believe, has an iPhone app. They've all started doing Hangouts and different things. I mean, during this political election, we had Newt Gingrich started doing these Google Plus Hangouts, and Google Plus was very new. And here he was getting on talking for several hours. I wouldn't be surprised if someone showed up on Reddit.com this election cycle and started doing a Ask Me Anything forum campaign. And that would be really smart when you think about all the young people that are on there. So I really believe in the revolution of social media and where social media is going, and I think it's.
I agree with you. I think this election is very important for that.
Yeah, most definitely.
I really do.
Learning this is where the meal ticket is, and this is where you got to come if you want to get elected. There you go. Yeah, and I think voting on the internet would be incredible. I know that there's projects that are working on making that happen, so it's already being put into place.
Yeah. But I mean, when you say 5 years, so if the election this year is 2012, you're November 4th, aren't you? So that means you're saying by November 4th, 2016, you'll have an election on the web?
I would say so. Yeah, I'll bet on it. I'll put up $100 on it. You've got to understand.
Right, that's on record, because I'll take that 100. I'll raise you 200.
Is that going to convert to pounds, or is there?
Yeah, you can have it in pounds. I'll raise you. Okay. I'll raise you 200. I'll see you 100, and I'll raise you 200.
Now you got to keep in mind. You got to keep in mind we have multiple elections. We have the 4-year elections of the governing bodies, but then we have our representatives every 2 years, and then we have a lot of these little segment of politician things they do every year or every 2 years. So there's a lot of elections they have to run this cycle through of getting it to work and everything. So that's why I feel.
In Switzerland, they vote every month by canton online on a subject.
I really love that idea. I think that's brilliant. I think you need to have the same thing here in America, where if you really suck at something, you can, we can just oust you. Like, we had there was the Wiener guy who was one of our congressmen. He gets caught putting his privates on the internet. We should be able to just vote, and we should just be able to have a little vote and just be like, you want him out? Gone. We just like an ejection seat vote. I'm all for that.
Well, it's like us with the euro. We've spent 15 years deciding not to have the euro, right? Well, we could have that. We could do that election on Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus in 24 hours.
Yeah. I mean, you guys just having an election to decide whether you don't want to have Greece anymore. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, who cares about Tarama Salata and Tzatziki?
Well, Thomas, I've taken up a ton of your time, and I really appreciate you spending the morning with us. We'll probably want to get you to your breakfast so that you can get something.
Chris, do you realise you've actually made me hungry?
Well, I'm a big fat guy, and when people look at me, they think food. And
no, I didn't mean it in that way at all. I mean, we've been here since 6:55 a.m. and it's now 9:06 a.m.
Yeah, and I've actually
So
gone back in time. It's 1:06 a.m. my time.
You need to go to sleep, and I need to have some bacon and eggs. And it's
Sounds
been a real
good.
pleasure, and I just wanted to say to you, I've got a lot of respect for what you do.
Thanks,
and
Thomas.
all the contributions that you make, the videos, the Chris Voss Show, the podcast, the tweets, the blogs, the streams, the stuff that you do. You know, I just take my hat off to you and say, I wish I could keep up with people like you.
Well, I wish I could deal with people like you, Thomas. I've always loved everything you've done, so thank you for the compliment. And
So rock on to that.
Rock on. And we'll talk some more. We'll have some more of these CEO commentaries. We're going to bring on a few CEOs. We're going to talk about what the future of social media is. But everyone go check out. I'm sorry?
When I land at LAX next time, we can have a big lot of food together.
We'll do. And we'll have plenty of beers. We'll have to find a good
plenty of
English
beers too.
pub here somehow. But go to Ecademy.com. Check it out. Sign up to your blogs today. Thomas, where can we find you on Twitter? What's your Twitter handle?
So my Twitter is @ThomasPower.
It's @Thomas Power.
ThomasPower. You can find me on Google+. You can find me on LinkedIn, obviously Ecademy. And you can actually ring my cell phone, and I will answer it. And if you get my voicemail, I will ring you back.
And he will, because he does that to me. Keep in mind, he's on the opposite schedule. So thanks for coming by, and thanks for spending some time and giving us your thoughts on social media. Thomas, continue success in what you're doing there, buddy.
Keep trucking, Chris. Never stop, man.
All right. Thank you. Your Yankee friend over and out.
Bye-bye.